Welcome, welcome one and all. Winter Wizard here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing my first impressions of the new Codex, Adeptus Mechanicus. For joining me today, whoever you are, and welcome to this little video of mine where I'm going to be sharing my first impressions of the new Codex Adeptus Mechanicus. It's cold and lonely here in Winter Wizard's Frozen Fortress, but I've just made a nice cup of tea. It's about mid-afternoon, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host, Norwegian Troll Dimmu, so this is going to be nice. We are very, very excited to finally get our hands on the new Codex Adeptus Mechanicus. So, if you aren't already aware, I have a Adeptus Mechanicus army called Forge Phobos, the Cult of Fear, and it's my second army that I started, so I've been playing them for a couple of years now, and yeah, absolutely love the Adeptus Mechanicus as a faction. And the old 8th edition Codex for AdMech was one of the codexes that I felt fell a little bit flat, a little bit too quickly for me, so I've been so excited about when the announcement for the new Adeptus Mechanicus 9th edition Codex was coming out, so and I'm really thrilled to get hold of it and share my thoughts and feelings on it with you. So I just want to very quickly explain how this video is going to work. This is going to be a first impressions video, so what I've done is I've got hold of the book here, and I have spent a little bit of time sitting down and trying to digest the whole thing, and now I'm going to be sharing sort of my thoughts and feelings on it with you today. So this isn't going to be this isn't going to be one of those videos where I'm going to read through every single little piece of information, every little rule, every little piece of detail for you. I'm just here to sort of, well, I've given it a good read, and so if you're interested to hear what a seasoned AdMech player thinks of the new book, and well, this is probably the video for you. So here we are then. So first thing to say, of course, is that the production value of these books is absolutely stunning. I just absolutely love the new design, the new themes, the new sort of aesthetic that they're going for. And this something that they've done really well with this piece of artwork is really capture the sort of grim, dark nature of the Adeptus Mechanicus. This is quite horrible stuff going on here. There's a lot of really sort of kind of mechanical body horror type things going on. It's really brutal, really dark, really nice. Yeah, but the production quality of these things is just absolutely through the roof. So anyway, let's open this up, and we'll start by just flicking through and just having a little bit of a look, and perhaps you haven't got hold of your book yet, a nice opportunity for you to have a little look inside. Yeah, but yeah, and again, like what I was just saying, I will keep going on about it, but the production is just, it's amazing. You know, these books, they really, really do look amazing. Look at this, it's so cool. The red planet. There's Mars. Yeah, I'm really going to enjoy. I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to sort of digest the rules and things, and but what I'm really looking forward to is just sort of sitting there with a nice cup of tea and absorbing all of this beautiful fluff, all these cool weapons here. Just reading all about it. Warzone Metallica here. Some lots of pieces of art that I've never seen before in this book. Some amazing work gone into this. Arcane and the Ancient. Cybernetica, some old pieces of art there. I'll say old, but from the old book. This is what we're talking about. The codexes, they used to do, they would give you like a page for every unit, so a page on data smiths, and a page on robots, and a page on Electro Priests. But they kind of sort of put them all together, made it a bit more cut down, which is fine, because a lot of that was a lot of it was perhaps a little bit of poetic bloat, perhaps. You got all the bits covering all the different types of units. It's all just really cool stuff to read. Some fleets here. A bit about the Forge worlds. I love it when they give like I love when they give a page for each of the big the big players or the big chapters or the big Forge worlds in any of these kinds of books. Yeah. There's Mars and Belisarius himself, the Archmagos, and then a bit on all the different Forge Worlds. But I mean, look at this. This is so nice. Just the banners up top, and then a nice clear picture of what they look like. Sort of colour schemes. You can really get absorbed. So nice. I really like actually these little sort of tag names that they do. Lucius, the Hollow Forge. Agrippina, Orb of a Million Scars. That's a great name. Which I've done with Forge Phobos, the Cult of Fear. Yeah. Stratagems, the ever-staring Cyclops. Yeah. But these books, they're such a pleasure just to sit there and flick through and read and be absorbed by. It's just like an encyclopedia of a faction. Look at all these great colour schemes. Brilliant. Always liked Deimos actually. Love that blue with the bronze. Really nice. And there we go. And of course you get onto your bit of a showcase here. Some units. Now what I noticed now is with all the new units that were added in, because they did some with the Engine War, the Psychic Awakening. They added a whole new units and new characters. The what do you call it? Katari Marshall and stuff. The Manipulus, even the Techno-Archaeologist has found its way to the book, which I didn't expect at all, but I'll talk about that in a bit. But this really does feel like a full range now. The range might have felt maybe just a little bit limited on choices, particularly in the HQ section. But now it really feels like you've got everything from a nice selection of HQs to troops to specialist units. You even got your transports and your flyers here now. It really feels like a full range of stuff. And I love these doggo horses, the cavalry. I'm going to get some of those, I think. Some of those Cerberus Raiders. I want some of those. I like those. And I'd like a flyer as well, I think. But yeah. Fantastic. So you got all your lovely showcase here, and I love it when they incorporate in this section some colours from some of the other Forge Worlds. You know, obviously Mars is the big daddy, but it's really nice when they showcase some of the others as well. So like we've got Metallica here, really nice, and some of these sort of minor ones. So I love that they put the time into getting somebody to paint up the models in the other colours. So we've got Styges here, Riser, Voss Prime, yeah, Triplex Thal, however you say that. I like the yellow actually. A Breacher and Metallica, they look really nice. So a really lovely little showcase section here. Oh, look at that. Really nice. Really nice. This is like it's a bit sort of D-Day landings. See, I really like that idea actually. I've got a very sort of specific sort of theme that I wanted to play in with my force, but there was a few ideas that I had. Well, there's a few ideas that I now have would be really fun ways to play AdMech, and I think one of them would be for a Forge World such as like maybe Metallica or Agrippina. Really like the idea of these Dune Striders. What are they called? The Scorpius Dune Riders. I just had to check what it was. The Dune Riders. I really like the idea of them. Have like a bunch of them, 3, even 4 maybe, just absolutely filled to the brim with Vanguard, with the radium carbines, and just charging up the board, pouring out, proper sort of storm the beaches, D-Day landing style. That's really cool. Really like that idea. Look at this fantastic piece of art. Utterly amazing. I say art, this is a showcase, it's a photograph, you know, it's incredible. Amazing. Beautiful stuff. Then of course we get onto the rules themselves, and like I said, there are layers upon layers of stuff to go through here. So I wanted to just have a nice flick through and give you a good look at the book and get excited, but we'll move on to the rules now. So we've got a little showcase of the new Combat Patrol box here, which is really nice. Great value, I think. Yeah, really cool. Nice mix of Scutari and Cult Mechanicus as well. And then we're talking here about detachment abilities. So it's talking about obviously you're going to gain your Forge World Dogma and also a little something here called Knight of the Cog, which means that you can incorporate a detachment. For every AdMech detachment, you can incorporate a detachment of knights, and it will gain the Knight of the Cog keyword. Because, well, spoiler alert, there aren't any knights in this book, which is interesting. So you'll have to wait for the, you'll have to wait for the Imperial Knights Codex before you can work out how you're going to be able to incorporate those with your AdMech. But if you do mix them with your AdMech army, then it will gain the Knight of the Cog keyword, and that's used for things like some stratagems and stuff, so nice. So if we now take a look at the Forge Worlds, and these are, you know, like your Space Marine chapters, you choose to pick your Forge World, pick your flavour, and you've got you get a Dogma, so it's like a trait, and you also get access to a Warlord Trait, a Relic, and a Stratagem as well. So it's really nice just to sort of play into a theme, give a bit more flavour, a bit more colour to your army. Really nice. So I love this. Is quite a common thing that we're seeing in codexes now. I think it's brilliant. It's really nice. So we've got Mars itself, so if you're playing Belisarius, cool. Belisarius still has the Mars keyword, so which is nice. Perhaps you want to use him. You can actually mix up the Forge Worlds, I believe. So you can have a detachment of Mars and a detachment of, say, you know, Metallica, something like that. But this is Mars, so each Dogma will have like 2 traits to it. And the Mars one is Katari units. They gain the Canticles of the Omnissiah ability. So if you remember what Canticles used to be, it used to be an army-wide thing that you would put into play at the start of every turn. Well, there's 2 of those kind of things going on now. I'm going to touch on them a little bit more in a bit, but essentially you've got Canticles of the Omnissiah, which are for your Cult Mechanicus, so like your Tech Priests, things like Electro Priest, Cataphoron Breachers, Cult Mechanicus units, they gain Canticles of the Omnissiah, and then Skatari units, they gain something called, what's it called? Doctrina Imperatives, that's the one. So it's like 2 different buffs going on, because the Mechanicus is kind of split into 2 different things. It's almost like 2 armies mushed together. Skatari and your Cult Mechanicus working together. So it's quite nice that they've sort of represented the 2 things. But again, I won't waffle too much. We're going to touch on that in a bit. But Mars Dogma essentially gives the Skatari units the Canticles, so they can play with those. And also, each time this unit with this Dogma is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 hit roll. So nice and practical, nice, and they're good at adaptive stuff. You see, they've got ways to play with the Canticles, and Mars is still good. And like I said, Belisarius here. Yep. So moving on, we've got Lucius. Lucius I really like, actually. So my army, Forge Phobos, I've always played with Stratagems, because the army that I wanted to play with, I wanted to create an army that was quite sort of clandestine, sort of infiltrating, sort of secretive, operative sort of stuff, and like disruptive playstyle. And Stratagems was always really good for that. So, but I'm not opposed to swapping that out. Maybe picking a different Forge World and seeing what we've got here. I'm quite interested to see what they all do. And Lucius is one that I particularly like. So their Dogma, Solar Blessing, they get each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model with this Dogma. Add 1 to the armor saving throw made against that attack. So that's really cool. So you can essentially, it's kind of almost like you're ignoring AP -1 if the damage of the weapon is 1. You get into cover as well. You could be ignoring AP -2, or at least, you know, get +2 to your save against AP -2. That's really nice, nice and resilient. That, especially on things like breaches, because breaches now have a 2-up save. So they're tough. It's, you know, really nice. So Lucius is a real cool one, and not only that, they get add 3 inches to the range characteristic of ranged weapons that the models with this Dogma are equipped with. So that's also really nice. Really nice. So I like the look of Lucius a lot, actually. I could be tempted by them. They've got the Warlord Trait, they've got a Relic. The Relic's quite interesting, actually. This is called the Solar Flare. This is essentially your Veil of Darkness, like in the Necron Codex. So a character and a core unit can basically disappear off the board and teleport. Well, they teleport somewhere. You basically pick them up and move them somewhere more than 9 inches away from the enemy. So yeah, some nice tricks with Lucius. Nice tricks indeed. They've got and teleportarium stratagem as well. They can put things in deep strike. Yeah, so I like the look of Lucius. Nice. Got Agrippina here, they're very nice. Staunch Defenders is their Dogma, so each time a model with this Dogma makes a ranged attack and the target's unit is within half range, the armor penetration characteristic of that attack is improved by 1. So that's going to be really nice for things like radium carbines stuff. So they've got loads of shots but no AP, so being able to just stick a little, getting them up nice and close, being able to put a little bit of AP on them, it's really nice. And also each time an enemy declares a charge against a unit with this Dogma, if it's not within engagement range of enemy units, you can hold steady or set to defend. So nice, so they can still overwatch on 5s, and they can set to defend. You get +1 to their hit rolls when they're punching back as well. So the Defenders, stalwart line, really nice. So yeah, I like Agrippina. We've got Graia here. These if you want, these are more they're kind of like anti-psyker stuff, I believe. Or at least they're good against psychers. They have the one thing in this book, which is this stratagem down here, Steel Mind, Iron Logic, which used to exist in the old book, I believe. Which is like the one thing that's going to deny, that has abilities to sort of deny psychic powers. So that's them here. And they've also their Dogma. So they auto-pass morale, combat attrition tests, which is really nice. Really nice indeed, especially if you want to have like nice big units. Which you might want to, because it's very viable to turn AdMech into a horde army now, most definitely. And also each time this model with this Dogma would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, so again, you know, smites, things like that. Roll 1d6 and a 5 up, the wound is not lost. So if you're anticipating some psychers, or you spend a lot of time trying to duck mortal wounds, you know, in your games or your local club or whatever, maybe Graia is the Forge World for you. And then Styges 8 here, so this is the one that I was most interested in, because this is also the Dogma of Forge Phobos, you know. So Shroud Protocols is their Dogma, and it's essentially, it says here, each time a ranged attack targets a vehicle unit, excluding units with a core keyword, with this Dogma, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, then it is treated as having the benefits of dense cover, so -1 to your hit rolls, essentially. And each time a ranged attack targets a unit, excluding vehicles, units without the core keyword, with this Dogma, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, the target is treated as having the benefits of dense cover. So it's a kind of convoluted, wordy way of basically saying that everything gets -1 to hit. So everything is treated as having dense cover if the enemy is more than 12 inches away. However, your vehicles, your bigger vehicles, vehicles that aren't keywords, it only works for them if it's 18 inches away, essentially. So everything is 12 inches. However, your bigger vehicles, your dune crawlers, things like that, it works at 18 inches, which makes sense actually, because they're a bit bigger, they're easier to see. So yeah, so I still like that a lot, being able to just go wherever you like, sit wherever you like and still get -1 to your hits. It's really nice, yeah. And I like the idea of the Shroud Protocols. Forge Phobos are supposed to be like, shrouded in black smoke all the time, and it's like a thing to sort of confuse and confound the enemy. So I think Styges is still, well, there's some good competitors here, but it might still be Styges for me. Oh, and not only that, each time a unit with this Dogma declares a charge, none of the targets of that charge can hold steady or set to defend. So again, nice little bonus as well. So it doesn't happen all that often, but it's nice to have as well. Now their Warlord trait, Veiled Hunter, is really cool. They basically, at the start of the first battle round, you can select 2 Styges units within your deployment zone, you can redeploy them. You can do that, or you can actually take them off the board and put them into strategic reserve for free. So the Veiled Hunter Warlord trait, I really like that. Really like that. They got the Relic, the Omnisci's Hand, a little mortal wound thing, and Clandestine Infiltration, which was an old stratagem. And now the new rendition of this is you basically use a stratagem during your deployment, and you have to select a Styges core infantry unit. You can deploy them anywhere on the battlefield, which is more than 9 inches away. So again, it's clandestine, it's infiltrative, it's nice. I know I've probably talked about them a little bit more than some of the other Forge Worlds, but they are quite an interest to me. But I definitely think, well actually hang on. We've got some more to look at first before I sort of give some overarching thoughts. Yeah, so we'll look at the rest of them first. So we got Riser here. Riser is a colour scheme that is one of my favourite colour schemes actually. I really love, I think orange is actually, fun fact, orange is actually my favourite colour. So I really liked Riser. I very almost went for a Riser army when I got into collecting AdMech. Riser are nice. This is your, these are kind of like your melee focus, your punchy and plasma. They're very good at plasma as well. So they're Dogma, red in cog and claw, which is a great name actually. Red in cog and claw. So each time a model with this Dogma makes a melee attack, if it made a charge move, was charged, performed a heroic intervention, add 1 to the attack's wound roll. Nice, so they're Blood Angels, basically. And they get the Blood Angels type buff, don't they? And also add 1 to charge rolls made for this unit with this Dogma. So yeah. So if you want an AdMech forces which is going to get stuck in, it's going to punch the lights out of people, perhaps Rise is the one for you. Really nice. Yeah, buff your Warlord in combat as well. And here we go, Plasma Specialist. So in the shooting phase, a Riser unit is when a Riser unit is selected to shoot. Each time it makes an attack with a plasma, you can add one to the damage. So Riser, you won't ever need to, essentially you could treat it like not ever needing to overcharge with your plasma. Now I've never been I've always had a bit of a, I've never been that sold on plasma weapons. I always find them a bit annoying because the damage 1 has always frustrated me, and the whole model gets killed if you roll a 1 to hit when you overcharge. I always find it quite annoying. So I don't rate plasma on its own especially that much, but if you sort of build an army that features it or works around it, for example Riser's Plasma Specialist, very nice indeed. Yeah. So that's Riser. Love Riser. Metallica's a really cool one as well. Really like Metallica. So this is the one that I was thinking would be really cool for like your D-Day landings, you know, your Dune Striders, Dune, what do you call it? I keep forgetting the name. The transports filled with Vanguard. I thought these would be really cool. Their Dogma is Relentless March. Models with a Dogma do not suffer the hit rolls incurred for firing assault weapons in the same turn that their unit has advanced. So they can advance and fire without any penalty, and also no penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons as well. So they can always be on the move and firing happily. Relentless March, very nice. And while an enemy unit is within engagement range of a unit from your army with this Dogma, that enemy unit is treated as being at below half strength. So it's good for morale. Yeah, nice. But it's the marching aspect of them, you know, being able to always be on the move, no penalty to your hits. That's really nice. Well, Metallica, they have a real nice stratagem as well, actually. You can select you basically point at an enemy unit within 12 inches until the start of the next turn. They get half of their movement, half the move characteristic of models in that enemy unit. And also they cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. So I think that's really, really nice actually. Because Overwatch isn't the most common thing nowadays in 9th edition. However, when there's an army that you really, sometimes there are armies where you think, I really wish I had something that would stop me from getting shot at before when I try to jump in. You know, things like Tau or things with lots of flamers and stuff like that. And, perhaps they've got like a real sort of like a missile sort of scary melee threat. You know, it's something like those crazy engines from Sisters of Battle. I think it's the Repentia engines. You got somebody who's got like a squad of those just as a missile. You could drop that on them, halve their movement. It's quite nice. And you could do this with any Metallica unit. So, for example, you could get your planes. So you could get planes flying over, or you could just throw a transport up there and drop this on them. Yeah, so I like Metallica a lot. So I've spent a bit of time, I know I've spent quite a bit of time just flicking through these and reading them. I wanted to give you a flavour of the Forge Worlds. They're such a big part of it, but each one comes with its own flavour, style, and yeah, I just love this sort of stuff. Anything that allows you to play an army to a theme or to a sort of bit of a narrative that you really like, or yeah. It's the great thing about the AdMech Codex is you could go for your sort of real sort of reroll gun line. You could go for your sort of stalwart sort of castle up defensive thing. You could be like you've got here is like resilience and tricks. They're almost a bit Necron-y. Graya, you know, if you go up against a lot of mortal wounds and psychic shenanigans, or if you want to be clandestine, you want to be infiltrative, you want to punch something and throw plasma at them, or you want the sort of like, you know, like the siege warfare with the marching army, the D-Day landing. There's just so much variety in this book. Just with the Forge Worlds alone, and we're already scratched on the surface here. Like I've said, there are layers upon layers of stuff in this book. But even just the Forge Worlds alone give you so much colour. It's really nice. Yes, I love it. Big thumbs up from me. But then I've just said all of that, and of course I haven't even looked at the Distant Worlds Forge Worlds. So this is if you don't want to pick one of the big well-known Forge Worlds. If you don't want to pick them, you want to create something more unique, something of your own, you've got options to do this. And I really like the way that they've done this here. And again, they're sort of giving you a bit of a theme. Rad saturated, so if you sort of radium saturated Forge World. Expansionists, so they're always on the move, or data hoard, they're sort of always hoarding technology. Reignited Forge World. So you've got 4 different options here, and then the slave systems as well, which basically just gives you access to one of these without being tied into the keyword. So it's kind of like if you're creating your own thing but you want to use one of these, but I don't really see why they do that, because I mean I'm just gonna use this and say it's got a different name anyway. But these are really cool. Again, more theme, more traits. And the way these work, I really like this actually. You get a primary trait, so for example, Rad Saturated Forge World. Each time a ranged attack targets a core unit with this dogma, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, subtract 1 from the strength characteristic of that attack. That's your primary, you take that, and then you've got a choice of secondaries. So you can see there's 4 more here, all with a primary, and 3 secondary options. So you take your primary and you get to pick one of your secondaries. Again, just so much variety and so much ability to, you know, so much room to sort of really tweak and sort of create the Forge World that you really want to play, or that really fits your story, you know. So I love it. I won't go through all of these, but I'll go through the primaries. But Rad Saturation, just read that one out, and you've got things here like, you know, subtract 1 from strength and toughness characteristic of enemy units within 3 inches. Starting to get a bit Death Guard-y, very nice. But Expansionist Forge World, each time this unit with this dogma fights, made a charge move, was charged, performs heroic intervention. The armor penetration of characteristics of melee weapons models in that unit are equipped with is improved by 1. So again, so you're expanding out, punching harder. Yeah, and there's some extra stuff to choose there. Data Hoard. Each time a vehicle model with this dogma would lose a wound, roll a d6 and a 6-up. The wound is not lost. So you want to get your vehicles a 6-up, feel no pain. Really nice. Yeah, and Reignited Forge World. Each time a core model in this dogma makes a ranged attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, armor penetration of the characteristic of that attack is improved by 1. So again, so you're shooting harder, you know. So yeah, so there's your theme, and all your different combos here that you can choose from. And I'm imagining there's going to be some real nasty combos going on in here. Yeah, really cool. There we go. So that's the Forge Worlds. And we move on to stratagems here, which is obviously a big part of any army. I'm not going to read out all of these. That's going to be, you know, you can enjoy sitting there and digesting all of this. But all I can say is there's some old favourites still here, maybe with some minor tweaks. Things like Zealous Congregation, which was the Electro Priest one. Which is, well, actually that's quite different actually, which is now just hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. But I don't know how much use that's going to be, because Electro Priests, will see it later, but when they wound on a 6 it does mortal wounds, so I don't know why you'd want to pass up the opportunity to roll those wounds. But well, there we go. Some Assassins constructs. This gets you Securian units, gets some extra attacks out of them, really nice. Some mortal wound abilities here from Electro Priests. I think there's quite a few different tricks for Electro Priests now to sort of like zip out and electrocute and do some little tricks with those, which is really nice. Elimination volleys here for Katari Servitors, so unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds. It's very nice. Data Spike is back, which is really cool. I think it's better actually. It's a Tech Priest. Points at an enemy vehicle within engagement range of it. On a 2 to a 5 it does D3 mortal wounds, on a 6 it does D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. So that's pretty nice. You get a 4-up Fiona Pain for mortal wounds on your vehicles, which is pretty nice. Just for a model though. Tech Adept, so again you can use your Master of Machines ability more than once. So that's your repair vehicles, or also, what else we got here? Awaken the Machine ability. So your Tech Priest engine seer now works a bit like a Space Marine engine seer, where he points at a vehicle and they get plus to the hit rolls. So you can use that more than once, which is real nice. That's a good one. Machine Spirit Resurgence is back, and you've got all your ones here for getting extra Warlord Traits, extra Relics, and then you've got the ability to put either a Warlord Trait or a Relic. There's 2 of them here on a Katari model that's got the Alpha or the Princeps keyword. So this is something that we're starting to see much more of now. It's like being able to give like sergeants in squads Warlord Traits and Relics. So we've got the option for both of those here. We've got Bionaric Override for your Castellan robots. This is your protocols thing, same as it used to be. Change the protocols and they stick with it for the end of the game, I think. Acquisition at any cost, one of my favourite names for a strat, is back, but it's different now. It's toned down much more. It's essentially Autopass Morales, which is still handy enough. Machine Spirit's Revenge is back. Deeply Sunk Talons, this is for your Taraxi, so that was really cool actually. If an enemy, you charge into something, if an enemy unit tried to fall back from the Taraxi sterilizers on a 2-up, they're stuck there and they're not allowed to fall back. So it was really annoying. Really good stratagem, really like that. So that's back with only 1 CP. The old Tactica Obliqua, which is the crazy Cerberus Raiders one, where if they get charged, they basically can run away. So that's back. It's a little bit, it's toned down a little bit. It's 2 CP, and basically the enemy tries to charge the Raiders, and you can make a normal move. You can immediately make a normal move away from them, basically. And that unit, you're not allowed to fire Overwatch or set to defend, of course, but then the opponent can select a new target for the charge. Yeah, very nice. So we could still charge him if you want, but the chances are you're going to be running away from him. But then he can charge something else. So that's just crazy annoying. Really cool, really strategic, Electroshocked. More, what is this? Not unusual to fight. Yeah, cool. So, select an enemy unit within engagement range of a Cult Mechanicus core or Cult Mechanicus character unit from your army, and the unit is not eligible to fight until after all enemy units have fought. So that's something, again, it's like that Judiciar ability which we're seeing quite prevalent in a lot of books as well now, and this is how the AdMech can get hold of that. Electroshocks, so that's really handy. And you got Booster Thrust here as well, which is a crazy Taraxi stratagem as well. This means that use this stratagem at the end of your turn, select 1 Taraxi unit from your army, remove that unit from the battlefield. in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, you can set that it can come back 9 inches away from the enemy. So you could have them on the board, and at the end of every turn, they could jump away, come back the next turn, and jump away. So as long as you've always got a CP, they can keep doing that. That's maybe. Is it broken? Maybe. I mean, it's gonna. If you want to do it every turn, it's 5 CP, but still, you could have a unit that can jump down, do some damage, and disappear, and the enemy can't hurt them. But then again, they're not on the board, they're not a presence, they're just there to do damage. I don't know. Good fun though. It might see an FAQ. Might see an FAQ. Seismic bomb for the fuselage. You can fly over something and select an enemy unit, and it halves the movement characteristic, halves the advance rolls, halves the charge rolls. So that's really nice. 1 CP. Really like the fuselage. I'd really like one of those actually. Info slave skull. It's like your Auspex scan again. Enemy unit arrives within 12 inches. You can shoot it. Very nice. Some other things here. Incense exhaust, which is like a smoke screen. You can get that on your Doom store. Doom crawlers. Yeah. No stratagems for manipulating the canticles or the Katari stuff. The Doctrina imperatives. But again, we'll get onto that in a bit. But the stratagems, you got all your old favourites are back. Usually, most of them are back anyway, in some way, shape or form. There's a few nerfs here, but there's still some absolutely fantastic stuff going on here. Some really nice. You're going to have loads of fun with these. Nice variety of units as well. Yeah. So overall, 4 pages of stratagems, and I think there's loads to play with, loads of great stuff, and I'm really pleased with them. So over the page we move on here to Holy Orders. Now I was really interested to see, because this is something that a lot of the codexes are now featuring. This is something where you can pay points to gain something. It's almost kind of like a bit of a relic or a trait or something like that, but you actually pay points for it instead of command points. And I was really interested to see how they would tackle that with this AdMech book. I wondered if they would do some things like special gear or relics or that sort of esque stuff for Tech Priests. But what they've done is they've given you these Holy Orders. So these are for your Tech Priests. So you can pay extra points here to get one of your Tech Priests into one of these Holy Orders. And what this means is they all get the same ability. They all get 2 abilities. One is like a progressive type thing, which we'll look at in a sec, but each one of these orders gets the same ability. And what this does is, once per battle, if this model is on the battlefield, when you use an Adeptus Mechanicus stratagem, reduce the CP cost of that stratagem by 1 CP. Note that the CP cost is only reduced 1 CP for that use of that stratagem only, and any further uses it costs the normal amount. So once per battle you can basically have a -1 CP cost on one of your stratagems. Now, depending on which of these Holy Orders you're in, depends on which kind of stratagem that you can have. So the Genitors, it has to be a battle tactic stratagem. So your stratagems are now broken down into these categories: battle tactic, epic deed, strategic ploy, and war gear. So depending on which Holy Order in, depends which one of those categories you can access to have your cheap CP for. So the Genitors, you're looking at battle tactics. For the low guy, you're looking at epic deeds. Is that right? No, sorry. Low guy is strategic ploys. The green ones. The May guy is your epic deeds. And your artisans is your war gear. So once per game, if he's on the battlefield, you use a stratagem from one of those categories, depending on which Holy Order you're in, you can get it reduced by a CP. So that's really nice. I actually think that's a really cool mechanic, and I like the idea. It's starting to actually see a reason for these to be broken up into the categories as well. Really nice. So yeah, I really love that. I think that's really cool. But then not only that, here's where we're going to start seeing some more layers and complexity. Each one of these gets access to a progressive ability, and this begins well, I'll read it here. So each of these abilities is made up of two separate parts. It's got an initial part and an advanced part. At the start of the battle, only the initial part is active, and then in order for the advanced part to become active, your character has to actually perform an action. He has to actually do this action, which is activate advanced protocols. And you do that at the start of your command phase. You start to perform the action, and it's completed at the start of your next command phase. So you've got to do this for a whole turn, whole battle round. And then when the action is completed, the initial part of the model's progressive ability stops being active, so you don't get that anymore. You then get this one. You move into the advanced one instead. So yeah, it's kind of up to you when you want to do that, really. And this is what I'm starting to talk about, where we're going to start to see some layers of complexity here. And that's how they all work. You'll get your discount on your stratagem, depending on which order you're in, depends on which category of stratagem you'll get. You'll get an initial buff here, and you can actually do an action to change that into your advanced buff here. And it doesn't actually say anything about being able to go back to the initial part. I think once you're in the advanced one, you're there to stay. But there we go. Interesting stuff. Yeah, fun, but again, like, maybe just once you start to see some of the other stuff going on, maybe it's a bit too many layers. I don't know, but it's cool. Really like the idea. Really like this reduced CP stuff for the different strategies, for the different categories. Yeah. So if you want to sort of customize your tech priests, send them off into a different school, you know. Really cool stuff indeed. So we move on to the Warlord Traits here, and we've got more ways to sort of customize your characters and get some more buffs and traits going on here. And they're really nice, actually. There aren't when I see a page of traits like this, what I sort of almost kind of dread slightly is seeing that one trait screaming off the page, being really amazing, and the rest being sort of so-so, and that always winds me up, because I'm like, it just, you feel like, oh well, there's my trait, that's the one I should take. You don't really feel like you're giving it much thought, or you don't really feel like you've got much of a choice. And so I'm pleased. Maybe I'm overthinking that, but it's just a personal thing. So I'm actually really pleased to say that all these, none of them are like especially screaming at me, which I usually think is a good thing, because they're all good. They all you read them all and you think, yeah, cool, nice, decent. But they're not all like, but again, like, you feel like you've got a choice, which is really nice. And what's really interesting here is Warlord Traits. You've actually got 2 pages of them. You've got Tech Priest Warlord Traits here. These are for your, you know, all your Tech Priests. And you've got Katari Warlord Traits here. So these can be for your Katari Alpha, your, the Katari Marshall. But also, remember how there was the stratagems to give the Alpha, or the Princeps rather, Warlord Traits. So you've got options to give one of those here. And these are Katari specific Warlord Traits. So that's really cool. It really feels like, this book really feels like it's 2 armies working together, you know, which is really nice, actually. The cult side, the Katari side, feels good. It feels kind of like, you know, your Drakari, how you've got your witch cults, your cabals, and your covens, homunculus covens. So it feels like that here, but just with 2 sides. It's really nice. Anyway, so the Warlord Traits themselves, again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but I think they're all really nice. And again, there's nothing that just screams at being sort of like OP or like auto pick, so I'm really pleased with that. There's some old favourite names here as well. Necro Mechanic. This is actually when you use your Master of Machines ability, instead of gaining D3 wounds, and it used to be D3 plus 1, it's a flat 3 wounds regained instead of 3. So it's really nice. If you want a Tech Priest who's going to be really buffing vehicles, really keeping, you know, healing stuff, keeping them alive, 3 wounds it's really nice. That's really cool. I quite like this one, actually. First-hand field testing. So you select a weapon that your Warlord is equipped with, and it gets +1 to its strength and damage. So it's kind of like a master-crafted type thing going on here. Well, that's really cool as well. You know, you want to create a bit of like a special piece of equipment that the Warlord has got, you know, but you don't necessarily fancy one of the relics, or there isn't a relic for that particular weapon that you want. It does say that you can't put this on a relic, which is fair enough, I guess. And Masterwork Bionics is pretty nice, so your Warlord can get a 4-up invuln save and subtract 1 from damage characteristics of attacks coming through to a minimum of 1. So 4-up invuln and disgustingly resilient. Very nice. Yeah, so there's some real good ones here. Real nice stuff. And again, the Katari Warlord Traits, these are all going to have sort of synergy with Katari core units, which is all really nice. Something that we're going to be talking about here is data tether units. So I'm going to get onto this in a little bit, but essentially your Katari units, some of them will have the data tether keyword or enhanced data tether. Some Katari units won't have that, but you have the ability to pay for it and buy it in, like your Rangers and your Vanguard and stuff. And some units will have the data tether keyword, but they also won't be a core unit. So there's that to sort of get your head around a little bit as well. But what this data tether means is Katari Warlord Traits or abilities from the Katari Marshall, they will affect core Katari units with an aura, but also they'll affect data tether units anywhere on the battlefield. So it's kind of a little bit like, you know, Astra Militarum orders going on. So it's quite nice. But again, we're going to be looking at that a bit. But yeah, so some 6 specific Warlord traits just for your Katari units. Things like reroll advance and charge rolls here for Katari stuff. And yeah, again, sorry, I won't go into all of it, but still, actually really love this. Again, like I said, it feels like the two factions, two sides of the same coin coming together. So Tech Priest, Katari, really nice. Something else that always makes me really excited is the relics, the relic pages, especially for a faction like AdMech. You expect them to have some real juicy stuff, you know. And again, these are all, most of these are, majority of these are weapons or like armor or some kind of you know thing that they're wearing, which will grant an ability. A lot of them are weapons. There's a buffed up Power Fist here. This is like for a Radium Serpenter. They've got the Phos Phoenix here, which is the old, that used to be in the old book. Cogtooth, Pater Cogtooth, which is the axe buff. Andion Pseudogenitor. What is that? Yeah, this is like good against hordes, so each time the bearer fights it makes 3d3 additional attacks with this weapon. So that's cool. Yeah, so a lot of these are very reminiscent of the old book. Some of the weapon buffs. We've got things like the Omniscient Mask, Raiment of the Technomartyr have come back, tweaked slightly, which is something I would say about these new books, is that you see a lot of the old names or data sheets are still the same, but there are lots of very small tweaks everywhere. So you really do have to go through these books with a bit of a magnifying glass to make sure you pick everything out. Raiment of the Technomartyr gets a 5-up Feel No Pain. And in the command phase, select a friendly core unit within 3, and they can ignore any modifiers to hit and ballistic skill modifiers. Very nice. On the Omniscient Mask, which I believe used to be a fighty thing. Yep, so hit rolls of a 6 in combat, score additional hits. So things like that. Again, that's Katari stuff. Play the Skull of Elder Nicola. Each time an enemy unit vehicle within 12. So there's like a mortal wound bomb for vehicles here. Yeah, so there's some fun things, some nice things. You want to create, you want to soup up a weapon slightly, or give your Tech Priest or your Alpha or somebody something a little bit mean or a bit of a buff. Temple Copia. At the start of the fight phase, select an enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer. The unit is not eligible to fight until all units from your army have done so. So there you go. There's the Judiciar ability finding its way into this book as well now. We saw something a little bit like that earlier, but there we go. And nice. I'm gonna electroshock something here. So again, this seems to be like a new thing, electroshocking something, and they'll get -1 to their hit rolls when they hit you back. Nice. So yeah, pleased with these. Nice. Again, nothing particularly screaming, standing out. So playing a scope to have a real nice think about what you want to do, and some cool tools in here, and they're not too dissimilar to what they used to be. So there's not a huge amount of overwork gone into this, but it's nice. Some old names, some old favourites, and some nice shiny gubbins to boot. If you're into your match play, you've got your secondary objectives here. These are interesting. I do enjoy reading these. Anything that makes an army want to play more like itself is always a winner in this wizard's books. This is an interesting one, actually. Accretion of Knowledge. Score 3 victory points at the end of the battle for each destroyed enemy model that meets one or more of the following criteria. So 3 points for every model at the end of the battle that has either had a Warlord trait, a Relic, or is the vehicle keyword and is more than 14 wounds and has a wounds characteristic of 14 or more. So you get rewarded for killing special characters, people with relics, and big vehicles. So like Titanic stuff, maybe. Doesn't have to be Titanic, but you know, big vehicles. That's cool. I don't know how, if you are thinking competitive, I don't know how competitive it is, but then again, I've got a my Death Guard army that I play is absolutely full of characters with Warlord traits and relics. Yeah, and so if you got a lot of snipers or a lot of punchy stuff, and you're going to get stuck in, and if you feel like you can take out, if there's a lot of characters around with a lot of shiny stuff, a lot of special things, why not? Could be great fun. Eradication of the Flesh. Score 3 victory points at the end of the battle if at least one Adeptus Mechanical vehicle unit from your army on the battlefield, and if Adeptus Mechanicus units from your army destroyed more infantry units this battle than enemy units destroyed friendly vehicle units. Sorry, that probably didn't make any sense. So you got to keep your vehicles alive, and you got to kill the enemy units, and if you've got a vehicle alive and you've killed more infantry than the enemy's killed more of your vehicles, you get 3 points. So a funny one there, but interesting. But yeah, there's some objective based ones here as well. But yeah, I always like these. Good fun. Again, I think maybe some armies have got some real pretty tasty, easy ones, but these seem suitably AdMech and suitably fun. So nice. I love this piece of artwork as well, by the way. The Tech Priest Dominus. That sculpt is one of my absolute favourite models. It's possibly my favourite model in the GW range. The Dominus with the coned hood. Yeah, I love it. And the cane. It's really nice. It's a beautiful piece of artwork, that is. Anyway, moving on. All your Crusade rules here. I'm sure this will be great fun. Again, I don't play Crusade. Sorry if it's disappointing that we don't touch over these too much, but you've got all your agendas here, obviously. Requisitions and your battle traits, and I imagine these are just going to be really great fun, especially with all the oh, look at this, weapon enhancements, very nice. Yeah, see, I like a lot of that sort of stuff with the AdMech. You expect them to be sort of tweaking and tooling up their gear to crazy treasure, to crazy crazy level. Archaeotech treasures. Now that sounds fun. Ooh, oh wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have a nice read of that actually, just to sort of see what it's all about, get inspired. But Archaeotech treasures, yeah, that sounds really cool, really nice. And weapon parts, force field parts, yeah, no, that looks great fun, real nice. There we go, nice showcase there. So here we are. So we're almost at so we're coming onto the data sheets. We're almost at them here, and we're starting to see quite a lot of layers already. So to recap, we've got our Forge Worlds with their dogmas, and you can incorporate one of your Tech Priests into one of the Holy Orders for some additional traits. Warlord traits, relics, of course. And so what we're going to be looking at now, and like I said, you've got your Katari, you've got your Cult Mechanicus, and what I've been mentioning is the Canticles of the Omnissiah and the Doctrina Imperatives. So we're going to have a look at that now. So essentially, what you've got is Katari units get Doctrina Imperative, Cult Mechanicus units get Canticles of the Omnissiah. Now this was confusing me when I first read it, and I was really like, oh, I wasn't really making sense of it. But basically, every unit in your army has if every unit has the Adeptus Mechanicus keywords, the units, then everything gets Doctrina Imperatives. If every unit from your army has Adeptus Mechanicus keywords, they can use the Canticles of the Omnissiah. And I was immediately thinking, why every unit? So it's like you've got these for both of these for everything. But then it made sense when I actually looked at the data sheets, and you see that anything Skatari based, so it's your standard warriors in all their forms, whether they're on dog horses, whether they've got flappy wings, or whether they're on chicken legs, everything that's got the Skatari keyword here should have Doctrina Imperatives abilities there. And then everything that's Cult Mechanicus, so not Skatari, such as your Electro Priests, such as your Servitors and your Battle Servitors, when you check out their abilities it says Canticles of the Omnissiah. So not Doctrina Imperatives, and Skatari stuff don't get Canticles. Unless you play Marts, and then as that's their dogma, Katari units will get Canticles. But there we go, so that's how it's all split up. So now it makes sense. So how do these work? Well, let's take a look at this. So let's start with Skatari, the Doctrina Imperatives. So basically at the start of each battle round, if there is a Doctrina Assembler model from your army, so there's another thing you got to think about. So what's a Doctrina Assembler model? So these be your HQs. Check out the keywords: Tech Priest Engine Seer, Doctrina Assembler, Tech Priest, Doctrina Assembler. So as long as you've got one of your characters alive, then you can activate one of these. So as long as your assembler's alive, one of them is alive, you can select one Doctrina Imperative that has not been active for your army. So you can only do these once per the game. And you choose them. You used to be able to roll them up randomly, not anymore. Well, that was the Canticles, but neither of them you can roll up anymore. So you choose one of these, until the end of the battle round, that imperative is active for your army. So you don't actually have to pick one of these. There is only 4. So you won't have one every turn, but on the start of a turn you may, if you wish, activate one of these for your Skatari units. So when you activate it, what's going to happen? 2 things are actually going to happen. You're actually going to get, so you choose your imperative, and it's actually going to optimize something and deprecate something. So what that means is it's going to give you a buff and a nerf. Interesting. And for example, Protector Imperative. So if you choose to activate this at your command phase, all Skatari units across the board, as long as you've got a Doctrina Assembler model alive in your army, you will improve the ballistic skill characteristic of those models by 1. However, at the same time, you'll also reduce the weapon skill characteristic of those models by 1. So you get a plus and a negative. It's quite weird, it's quite interesting. So you've got to sort of play these, you know, you get a bonus to be really good at something by becoming bad at something else. So if you play this cleverly, or you play this strategically, these could be quite nasty. But you've got to be clever with it, because otherwise you could nerf something, you could be trying to buff something over here, but accidentally nerf something over here, and it could really suffer for it. But it's interesting, yeah. So you've got improve the ballistic skill by 1, reduce the weapon skill by 1. That's Protector. Then you've got Conqueror Imperative, which is the other way around. Improve the weapon skill by 1, but reduce your ballistic skill by 1. Interesting. And then you've got Bulwark Imperative, so you get +1 to your save, but you get -3 to your movement. And then there's Aggressor, which gives you +3 to your movement, but -1 to your save. So it's a really interesting mechanic. I've not seen anything like this in any of the other books. it feels really AdMech, really Skitarii. So I really like it, but again, you know, it's gonna take, you're gonna have to get used to this, and you're gonna have to get your head around it and work out when to play stuff. Yeah, it's so there's layers and layers going on so far, but then, so that's all your Skitarii stuff, but then not only have you got that to think about, you've also got Canticles of the Omnissiah. So this is all your Cult Mechanicus stuff, and this works in sort of the same way it used to. You don't roll for it anymore. So at the start of the battle round, is there any restrictions here? This game's... No. At the start of the battle round, you just select one of these, and it's active for your army. If you do so until the end of the battle round, that canticle is active for your army. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've actually got 6 to choose from. So again, you won't get all of them throughout a game. And again, you don't have to choose one. And but if you do choose one, you can't use them more than once. So again, it's a one-time thing. So again, buffs going on, and yeah. So some of the old ones: Shroud Army's back, light cover, Benediction of the Omnissiah. This is a cool one. So all the Cult Mechanicus units reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 damage roll every unit in your turn. So that's really nice. Invocation of Machine Might, an advance roll, charge roll. When you make an advance or a charge roll, roll an additional d6, discard the lowest. Very nice, very handy. Litany of the Electromancer. Now it used to be dreadful. I think I used it. I think it came in help. I think it helped me out once in all the times that I ended up using it. While this canticle is active, each time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. Really nice, yeah. So there you go. So these are your layers now. So you've got all your Cult Mechanicus stuff, and all your Skitarii stuff. If you've got your imperative your Doctrinae Assembler characters alive, you can activate one of these. You'll get a buff, but you'll also get a negative for all your Skitarii units. But also every turn you can activate your Canticles of the Omnissiah. This is all your Cult Mechanicus stuff. However, if you play Mars, your Skitarii will get it as well. So there's a whole list of stuff to think about here. You've got your these buffs which you can layer on top of this. So you've got that to think about, and then you've got your Warlord Traits on their own. Maybe you want one of these, pick 2 there, or one of these, pick 2 there, or you know, you pick 1 and you'll get 2 buffs there. Loads and loads of stuffs, loads and loads of stuff. And like I said, I don't even forget the you know, any synergies you got going on with your warlords here, and especially the Skitarii ones as well, using the data tethers as well. So there's that layer of it as well. Forge Worlds, Holy Orders, Warlord Traits, data tethers stuff going on, and then Doctrinae Imperatives, Canticles of the Omnissiah. There's so much going on in this book. It's really not a book, unless you know, experience with lots of rules or something, I don't know. I don't think this is a great book for a new player. And it's going to be a hard book to play against as well, because you'll have so much, you know, you're not used to playing against AdMech. You're going to have so much going on. It'll be really hard for you to keep track of where everything is. I really think this is definitely an army that I would strongly recommend getting the data cards for. As soon as I sort of saw what was in this book, I thought, I'm definitely going to need these. I think there's armies where you really don't necessarily need these at all, but I think this is an army where you're going to want these on hand, or at least some way of keeping track of all this. But yeah, there we go. That's those are all the many layers, and you know, I appreciate this video is probably going on quite some time. We've not even looked at the data sheets themselves yet, so let's have a little flick through these. So we're going to take a look at some data sheets now. What I don't really want to do is I don't want to get bogged down trying to look at looking at every single stat, every little ability, every little, you know, every little tweak here and there. You can get your book and sit down and enjoy sort of looking through and peeling back all the layers and looking at all the different stats and seeing all the different tweaks. But as a sort of overview, most units are going to run and are going to be very similar to how they've already run before. There's going to be a lot of little tweaks with things like weapons and subtle tweaks with abilities and things like that. So you're going to want to take a fine-tooth comb. You're going to want to look through the whole thing and just make sure that you're getting everything, spotting all these little changes and getting everything right. But most units are going to play how they've always played. Now, the one exception to this is possibly the characters. Let's have a look. So we've got Belisarius here, man himself. He is Lord of Mars, so he's going to get like a Chapter Master ability, and he's got lead in prayer, so you can basically give a Cult Mechanicus unit access to a canticle more than once. Again, you know, even if you've chosen it before. So he still has a way to manipulate the canticles, so he works hand in hand with the buffs that Mars has already. And yeah, so all the tech priests are all going to have Master of Machines, D3 lost wounds. They've all seemed, every unit in the book is going to have its 6-up invuln save. Some of them are going to have enhanced, but that's your bionics invuln save. Some of them are going to have enhanced bionics. Give them a 5-up invuln save, or something like this, a refractor field for a 5-up invuln save, and things like that. So that's Belisarius. We've got the Manipulus here. So his ability now, he selects a core unit within 9 inches, and until the start of the next command phase, adds 6 inches to the range of galvanic, arc, and radiant weapons. So he's, you know, you're getting your extra range. Each time attack is made with one of those weapons, the armor penetration characteristic of that attack is improved by 1. So he's really cool, really good for buffing your guns. Extra range, extra AP. It's core units only. There is something about that which does niggle at me. I'll touch on that in a little bit. You'll see. I'll explain. But yeah, but that's your Manipulus, and you've got your Dominus here. Still does what he does. Is you like your Captain rerolls. You reroll hit rolls of 1 for core units within 6 inches, and it is core as well. It's Forge World core, so it's not specific to Cult Mechanicus or Skatari. It's all Forge World core stuff. It's really nice. Master of Machines, Refract Field for 5 of invuln. Still the same weapon choices again. There may be some subtle differences here, some subtle tweaks. Stat line I still think is the same. They're on 5 wounds, toughness 4, strength 4. 2-up save, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 2. So they are better at shooting than punching, which is fair enough. Now, something that makes me really, really happy, and I was really, really surprised, and I didn't expect this to happen. I actually would have probably bet money that the Games Workshop wasn't going to do this, but they've put the Techno-Archaeologist in the book, which I'm extremely pleased about, because he used to be a special character from Blackstone Fortress, and I loved the character, and I loved I loved his rules, and I loved my character that I created, Techno-Archaeologist Arcus Covart, and I really loved using him in game. So I'm over the moon that they've now put him in the book. I hope that they release the model as a standalone model at some point, but we'll see. We'll see if they do that. Yeah, but he's very different now. Enhanced Bionics, 5 of him on save. He's got an Omni Scrambler, so enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of him. So he gets a little extra range to his. So normally you can't arrive within 9 inches, so he gets 12 inches, which is quite nice. Nice little buff. Quite like that rule actually. And he's Master of Machines. All these tech priests, they can all heal stuff now, so he can repair vehicles as well, which is great. He gives a buff for select a friendly Forge World core or servitors, Cataphoron servitors unit within 6 inches of this model till the start of your next command phase. They can perform an action and still make ranged attacks without the action failing. So that's quite nice if you've got like blocks of Cataphoron servitors or something, and they wanna sort of trudge up the board. They can do actions and still fire away. It's it's a very match play orientated buff, but still pretty handy and pretty nice. I don't know how popular he'll be, but I really like him. I like his tricks, and I think there's some nice relics and Warlord traits that you can give him as well. And the fact that he can heal stuff as well is really cool. Now, the Archaeologist, as well as the Tech Priest Engineer, we'll look at him in a second, they get the rule called the Brotherhood of the Cog. Now this is really cool. And all this basically means is that for every Tech Priest Dominus or Manipulus model that you've got in your army, you may include a Archaeologist or an Engineer for free, without well, I say for free, without taking up a detachment slot. So that's really nice. So it was always my complaint about the, I say complaint, it was always something I was a little disappointed about with the old 8th edition Admech Codex, is the fact that in the HQ department you had Belisarius Call, you had the Tech Priest Dominus, and you had the Engineer, who didn't actually do anything apart from heal vehicles. You had 3, and if you didn't want to play Mars, then you had 2, because Belisarius was Mars only. So you had 2 HQs. One did something, one didn't really do something. It was a bit sad, really. You know, I've actually said it before, but the HQ section in the Space Wolves Codex used to be longer than the entire Admech Codex. You know. Anyway, I digress. But now I'm absolutely really thrilled to see that you got Belisarius, of course, but if you ignore him, you've got, you know, maybe you don't want to play Mars, then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 5 HQ choices to pick from. You've got loads of options now, loads of great choices, and they all do something very individual and all something very different. So it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this. Really pleased that the Archaeologist has made it into the book. Really pleased that the HQ section now feels full. It feels vibrant and plenty of choice. Love it. So that's the Archaeologist. I'll look at the Engineer now because we just mentioned him, and then we'll go over to the Marshal. But again, and all the Tech Priests as well, the Dominus, Manipulus, the Archaeologist, the Engineer, these are all your Cult Mechanicus stuff. So they all get Canticles of the Omnissiah. But now he used to just be able to heal stuff, which he can still do. Master of Machines. He's got the Brotherhood of the Cog that we just talked about, so he doesn't have to take up a slot. But he has Awaken the Machine. Now this is like your normal engine. So you can point at a vehicle within 3 inches, and it gets +1 to its hit rolls. Really nice. Really nice. And don't forget there was a stratagem to be able to do that twice. So you could have like 2 Dune crawlers, both of them shooting at 2s. Really nice. So he's actually got quite a nice use in game now, as opposed to just being a cheap HQ who can heal a few things. Yeah, so the Engineer is great. So then we look at the Katari Marshall, and this is the new guy, and he is a Skatari through and through HQ. So he has the Doctrina Imperatives, not the Canticles of the Omnissiah. So he's really cool. What a nice model, actually. He's got a pretty basic stat line. He's got a pistol that does nothing, really, and control stave that yeah, can give quite a nice whack. But you take him really for the buffs. So the Doctrine Imperatives he's got, and he's got Control Edict. So in your command phase, select a friendly Forge World Skatari unit within 9 inches of this model. So Forge World Skatari unit within 9, or select a friendly Forge World Skatari data tether unit anywhere on the battlefield. So this is what I was talking about with the data tether. This is where he comes into. So this is a Skatari thing. So some units will have one already built in, the data tether. Others will have to buy one in. But anybody who gets access to a data tether, they can take orders anywhere on the battlefield from this guy. It says here, so choose a unit until the start of your next command phase. That unit ignores the deprecation effect of the currently active Doctrina Imperative. So what does that mean? So that basically means, remember those buffs we were talking about? The Doctrina Imperatives, they give you an optimization and a deprecation, a buff and a nerf, bonus and a negative. He can choose somebody on the battlefield and they don't have to suffer that negative, which is nice. So, well, somebody within 9 inches of him, or if they've got a data tether, then anywhere on the battlefield they don't have to suffer the negative, which is fine. It's nice. But, yeah, and then you've got Servo Skull uplink as well. This is an aura. core Katari units within 6 inches, reroll wound rolls of 1. Yeah, so he's kind of like your lieutenant there. But there you go, so that's where your data tether comes into play, as well as the Katari Warlord Traits. They all make use of that as well. Where's that gone? Katari Warlord Traits. Yeah, it's all in here. Data tether, it's all there. So that's where your data. So that's where that layer gets. That's where that layer of mechanics is incorporated. All cool, all very fun, very nice, lovely. So those are your HQs. Yeah, so I'm thrilled with the HQ section now. You've got loads to play with. They each do something very different, and yeah, one of my favourite parts about a new book is the character development that I can do. Is choosing the right data sheet with the right traits or the right abilities or the right role for the characters I've created. So we've got yeah. So I'm really looking forward to figuring out what on earth to do with them all, because at the moment I'm really not sure. I really don't know which ones to choose, but we'll see. We'll have a look at some other data sheets now. So our basic Katari troop choices, we've got Rangers and Vanguard here. Now the special weapons, so Rangers can take galvanic rifles. These are range 30 and they're now heavy 2, strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. So very nice. Like that's chunky stuff. You know, offering big units of Rangers offering supporting fire. That's really gonna rip through stuff. You know. And the Vanguards can take the Radium Carbine, which is range 18. It's assault 3, so it's the same as it used to be, and 6s to hit, automatically wound the target. So that's changed slightly, but very nice. This is what I'm talking about. Things that are very similar but subtle changes. So you'll have to go through everything and sort of pick all these bits out. But then you've got your special weapons, and both versions can take them. So it used to be, you know, there was, maybe I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but I think it was that the Rangers had a couple of special weapons they could take, and the Vanguard had a couple that they could take. But now it's a mix. Rangers can take the galvanic rifles, Vanguard can take the radium carbines, and both squads can take arc rifles, plasma calibers, and transuranic arquebuses. So you can sniper weapons on your Vanguard. I'm not sure if that used to be a thing. I feel like the arquebuses used to be only for the Rangers. Maybe I'm wrong. You still got your data tethers here and your omnispecs available to you. Omnispecs is the same, ignores light cover, and the data tether is, you know, you got your synergies with your Katari Marshall, with maybe some stratagems and the Katari Warlord Traits, and also you get +1 to your leadership. Nice bonus. Now the order of these squads is different now. You can't take quite as many special weapons as you used to be able to, which is quite annoying, because I spent ages tracking down these sniper rifles to get 3 squads of 5 Rangers with 2 snipers in each, 6 snipers, and then 3 other Rangers. But it's looking like I'm gonna have to buy another box of Rangers now, so annoying, but never mind. And it's worded quite strangely as well. It says here, if this unit contains 9 or fewer models, one of the models, so it's either the rifle or the radium carbine, it's the same here, so one Katari Ranger's galvanic rifle can be replaced with one of the following: arc rifle, plasma caliber, transuranic arquebus. So if you've got 9 or fewer, you can have an arquebus. And then for every 10 models, it says here, one Katari Ranger's galvanic rifle can be replaced with an arc rifle. One can be replaced with a plasma caliber. One can be replaced with a transuranic arquebus. So I feel like if you've got 10 models, you can get two special weapons in here. I think. Well, I'm not sure actually. No, for every 10 models, one Katari Ranger's rifle can be replaced with an arc rifle. For every 10 models, one can be replaced with a plasma caliber. Does this mean if I've got 10 models, then I can have an arc rifle, a plasma caliber, and a transuranic arquebus? I'm not sure. I'm a little bit. It's worded a little bit strangely. I've not quite got my head around it, but I'm more interested in the transuranic arquebuses, and I'm thinking that if I've got a squad of 10, I can have 2 of those. So that's what I want anyway. But then obviously you've got the choice here. If it contains 9 or fewer models, you can take a enhanced data tether, you can take an omnispecs. You've got some combat weapons for the alphas, so it's all very similar to what it used to be. A bit of a tweak here with how you organise your squads, though. You'll have to sort of have a good read of that, try and make sense of it. Now, something that's quite fun is that the Vanguard, they've always had the special rule, if you got too close to them, it'll be -1 to your toughness from all the rad saturation. So it's here. It's actually been improved slightly. While an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is within engagement range of this unit, subtract 1 from the strength and toughness characteristic of models in that enemy unit. That's pretty huge. -1 to strength and toughness. And I'm really pleased to see that the Rangers have been given a buff as well, because they used to be I don't think there was really any difference with them apart from the weapon choices, but I really love the fact that Vanguard have got a special rule. And Rangers have now got a special rule. And their special rule is, at the start of the first battle round, models in this unit can make a normal move of up to 3 inches. Which is real nice. So they can... I wish it was a little bit better, like, I wish it would just been make a normal move, you know, or... 3 inches doesn't feel like a lot, not compared to, like, you know, -1 to strength and toughness. But I'm really pleased that they've given them something to make to give them a bit of a special trait. So I really like that. So that's really cool. Those are your Rangers, those are your Vanguards. Here we come on to your Breachers and your Destroyers, your Cataphren units. So the weapons are all still, you know, they've still got the same weapon choices. There'll be some small tweaks. Torsion cannon is now D3+3. Arc rifles, arc weaponry has a special thing now where if it's firing at a vehicle, unmodified wound roll of a 4+ successfully wounds the target. Really nice. So they want to be firing at vehicles. But your Destroyers, they've got lots of heavy firepower. Not quite as much armor. The Breachers have got not quite as much heavy firepower, but they've also got a bit of combat punch and a bit better armor. So, and their saves now, they're still toughness 5, 3 wounds. They've got a 2-up save now, Breachers. 2-up save. Destroyers have got a 3-up save, which is good. Really, really nice. That's brilliant. Yeah. They are actually classed as bikers now, but they've got tracked mobility, which means they can navigate walls, girders, chains and foliage, and breachable terrain as if they were infantry. Really nice, makes them more mobile. And of course they get Canticles of the Omnissiah. So they're still brilliant, still awesome, but there is one thing which is just, I'm going to have a bit of a whinge here, because usually with these books I absolutely love them, but I usually seem to find at least something that just really grinds my gears and just I find really irritating. And in the AdMech book, it's the fact that Breachers and Destroyers, they're not core units. And I don't really understand why. I get annoyed about things when I just kind of, I would like to understand the thought process behind the decision that's clearly annoyed me. Mainly because it's very, there's absolutely tons and tons of core units in this book, and Electro Priests are core. Securian units are core. Sterilizers are core. Ballistari are core. I just I don't really understand why. Well, in the lore, Breachers and Destroyers, Cataphren Servitors, they are battle line units. They're like the bulk of Cult Mechanicus forces. They are main battle line units, you know. Electro Priests aren't. They're much more elite. They are an elite specialist unit, you know. So I don't understand why the core troops choice of the Cult Mechanicus are not core units, and why that is a bit annoying is because then they ain't going to get any. They ain't going to be affected by any re-rolls, because their weapon skill and ballistic skill is 4+, which ain't great. And I can't find anything to get them, to give them +1 to their hit rolls, and I can't find anything that's going to allow them a re-roll aura. I don't know. It just winds me up because they're such a fundamental part of Occult Mechanicus force in the narrative. They are the battle line, you know. Maybe it's because they're servitors. They've made them not core, but this is the AdMech. Like, they're all juiced up on brain data and whatever and communications. I don't understand why they're not core. Electro Priests, the Lumen F are. I kind of feel like, you know, Securian, Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators, I feel like they're a bit too specialist to be core as well. I just find I'm a bit confused as to what they're trying to go for with the meaning of core. I don't know. But I find that quite annoying. Maybe they'll FAQ it, but you know, they're a troops choice and they're a core fighting unit of the anyway, I'm digressing. I'm getting off topic on one of my whinges. I do apologise. So it's just I found that a bit confusing and a bit annoying. But they're still great. You know, the 2-up save on the breaches is wonderful. Really nice indeed. Anyway, so we'll move on. And we got servitors here. Great for, you know, objective grabbing and doing actions and things like that. They're pretty much the same. The Electro Priests are a little bit, they're pretty much the same. Still got a 5-up invuln save. They're still going to get +1 to their invuln save, but it becomes a 4-up instead of a 3-up now, which seems a little bit more reasonable, I suppose. A bit fairer. A little less broken, perhaps. Not that 3-up invuln was, well, it was pretty nasty. But they still got their 5-up invuln, 5-up feel no pain. They still do mortal wounds on the charge, and they still do mortal wounds on hit rolls on a wound roll of a 6, so it's 2 mortal wounds this time. You've got your punchy option, you've got your shooty option, still brilliant, still excellent. Loads of buffs and stratagems with these, and they're core units apparently. So. Your Data Smith. Now he's interesting. He still does a similar deal. He's got you know, he works with the Castellan robots, but Castellan robots, they're not core units, but they can get the core keyword if they're within 3 inches of the Cybernetica Datasmith. So you can even get the core keyword on them as long as they're with this guy, which is interesting. So I don't know. I would thought maybe Breaches or Cataphrone, maybe they could get the core keyword while they were within so many inches of a Tech Priest. I don't know. Anyway, I'll move on. But then we've got the Securians. Lovely, fantastic these are. And they've actually, you know, I used to always find it really annoying that the transonic blades, like these, because when you read about them, you read about these weapons, they're supposed to be able to cut through ceramite like butter. But they never had any AP. Now they do. So I feel like Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators are back. Very great choices. Beautiful models as well. Might get some more of those. Wasteland Stalkers, range attack. So they get +1 to their armor save as well. And no modifiers to their advanced and charge roll. No, they ignore all modifiers. Negative ones. That's brilliant. Yeah, real great units. Nice to see them have a bit of a refresh. They were always a little bit stale before. The Infiltrators were great in Mars, but you didn't see many people taking them. But I think they're fantastic. And then the Raiders and the Sulphur Hounds. I absolutely love these guys. I'm going to get some, most definitely. They still do what they do. You know, the Raiders. They still have sniper capability. They're on 2 wounds each. Toughness 4. I think did they used to be on 3 wounds? I'm not sure. 2 wounds seems fair, I suppose. And these have got enhanced bionics. So remember I talked about how everything's got a 6-up invuln save, but a lot of things have enhanced bionics as well. So these guys, they've got a bionics, 6-up invuln. But then things like your Securians, they had enhanced bionics, so they've got a 5-up invuln, which is very tasty. Cerberus units, they've got a 5-up invuln, very tasty. And they still do what they do. Sterilizers and Sky Stalkers, they have enhanced bionics, 5-up invuln, so you're getting a lot of invuln saves going on now. It's really nice, which is good because they are quite fragile, a lot of these units. I mean, their toughness 4, Rust Stalkers, Infiltrators, toughness 3. Katari Rangers, you know, they're all toughness 3. So it's great that there's lots of invuln saves going around. Really nice indeed. These guys still do what they do. These have got arc grenades. They've got some mortal wound capability. These are the flamers, and they're still brilliant. Still got some abilities from when they're charging, and they've got the tasty stratagem where the deeply sunk talons to hold a unit down or jump off the board again. Yeah, so they're all really brilliant, all really nice. And the Ballistari, the Iron Striders, Dragoons. From what I've seen, from looking at some of the combos, if you've got an army with a ton of these guys in, I reckon they're going to be the new AdMech meta hotness. Not that I particularly follow that kind of stuff, but just from what I've seen or what I've heard, yeah. Because these are core units, you know, they can get re-rolls, they can get all sorts going on with all these weapons, and their weapons are horrible. Twin Cognis Las Cannon, strength 9, AP -3, damage D3 +3, assault 2. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of Ballistari, most definitely. But I don't have any of those. I do have 6 Dragoons though. I'm really interested in these. They still got Incense Clouds, -1 to the hit rolls, which is still really nice. And you see, this is what I'm talking about here. Look, broad spectrum data tether. So some units have the data tether keyword built in, which is nice. So they'll benefit from the Doctrine Imperative, the Katari Marshall things, and the Katari Marshall Warlord Traits and stuff like that. It's really nice. Taser Lance is still great. Still explodes on 6s. Yeah, I love the Chicken Walkers. Robots don't have any of those. They still operate very similar. The protocols have changed slightly. You get a 2-up save, weapon skill of 2-up, ballistic skill of 3-up. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice, and you know, they can cycle through those protocols, and you get your data smith nearby. Get a little extra command of those. And they've still got the repulsor grid. For invuln save and rebounding, potential mortal wounds. So robots are still great fun. Really nice. And this is what I mean about a codex being fully fleshed out now. You've got so many units. It really feels like a full collection. It feels brilliant. Tons to choose from, tons of variety. Pick your favourite unit, run with it. There's loads of flavours. It's absolutely beautiful. Now we've got all the transports. There's your disintegrator, well that's your gunboat. Packing some nice heavy firepower. Again, subtle tweaks to weapon loadouts and things like that, but otherwise relatively the same. Dune crawlers, some tweaks there, like the neutron laser's gone up to a strength 12, D3 +3 damage. Yeah, really nice. I like Dune. I like the Dune crawlers a lot. The Mantis force field is just a 5-up invuln now, but still. Yeah, brilliant stuff. You transport your Dune Rider, 12 infantry. I'm not sure how many it used to be infantry-wise, but you've got a capacity of 12 infantry models in that, which is really nice. Very nice indeed. That's what I mean. Imagine, like, I love the hatch down. It is like those sort of D-Day landing boats, you know, with the hatches that would come down. Troops would pour out. Lots of Dakar. Really cool. And all your flyers here. All these are lovely. I really want one, to be honest. Only 10 wounds though. Ain't a lot. Ain't a lot of wounds. Hard to hit, of course, but don't often save them. But no, I like the Fusilave a lot. I like the bombs. Really nice. But there they are. And that's it. That's all the units, and you got your weapon profiles, of course, and your points values. Things that I've had a look at. These things don't seem too expensive, really. Breaches still seem about the same, 35 points. Destroyers only 40 points, you know. Dominus is about 80 points. Marshall's 45. Call is 180. Engine Seer 55 points. Manipulus 75 points. Not expensive. Not expensive. You have every ability to be able to create a horde army with AdMech, most definitely. Rangers, Vanguard, 8 points a piece. Things like all your specialist units, they're not that expensive, you know. Your Electro Priests are only 15 points a piece now. 15 points a model. It's cheap for what they do. I was expecting, you know, this edition that they would be they'd be up to at least 19 perhaps. Your Securian units are 17 each. Your Taraxis are 17 for the Skystalkers, 19 for the Sterilizers. Your Cerberus units, they're 16 points for the Raiders, 20 for the Sulphur Hounds. Dragoons, 55 plus 15 for the Lance, 70 points with the Lance. 75 for the Iron Strider with the Twin Cognis Las Cannon. It's not expensive. I think you've got, which is great because there's so much variety now. This codex is absolutely chock full of choices, you know, which is great. Pair of robots, 100 points. Dune Crawler. Onaga Dune Crawler is 115 points. For, you know, for the amount of damage it can kick out. Damn, yeah. And the Flyers, you know, they aren't, they're only 10 wounds, but then again, 130 points. That ain't bad. Yeah. Nah. This is great. You've got, yeah, there's so much variety here, and so much, and it is not expensive. I really feel like you're going to be able to fill up a list with quite a lot of goodies. Fantastic. But there we go. That's the review, really. Well, I say the review. That's my first impressions. So let's have a little. I'll flick back through and we'll have a little. Have a few final thoughts here. Yes, a few final thoughts. So overall, I'm really pleased with the book. Most definitely. There's looking at all the stats, I managed to find one thing that kind of annoyed me, which was the breaches not being core. But other than that, I think all the unit options, they're brilliant. I love what they've done with the HQ section. I love the variety. I love the range. It feels like a proper HQ section. It feels full up. Instead of having, you know, 2 plus Belisarius, you've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great options, all do their own thing. Really nice, and Belisarius, you know. All I would say is that this is a complex book. After the first time I read it, my head was a bit like, oh my gosh. As far as from looking at all the other codexes, I feel like this is possibly the most layered and most complex out of all of them. Like I said, I would definitely get a hold of some data cards to help you out with this. And I feel like for a brand new player, this is a lot, you know. And if you're playing against them as well, trying to keep track of everything that the enemy is up to it's going to be tough. There's just so many layers, so many layers. Warlord Traits, Relics, Forge World Dogmas, Holy Orders, Doctrina Imperatives, Canticles of the Omnicile. Not only that, 2 kinds of Warlord Traits as well. It definitely feels like the perfect mash of Katari and Court Mechanicus. It's I'm really not sure what I want to choose, or what traits I want to pick, or how I want to run this army. I still want to keep my theme, but I don't. It's a lot to digest, and it is a lot to digest. And if you're a seasoned AdMech player, I'd love to know what you think down in the comments below. If you're a new player, do you feel like you could handle this, or are you attracted to the complexity and the layers? But yeah, there is so much to look at here. There is so much to look at. But what they've done, I think, is brilliant. You know, I think they've nailed it with the strats. I think they've nailed it with the options for the traits and stuff. I think everything seems pretty balanced. Everything seems viable. Every single one of these Forge Worlds seems like a good pick, as opposed to, you know, before everybody played Mars, and if they didn't play Mars, everybody played Styges. You know, I like Styges a lot. I think they're great, but I like them for the theme and the style of play that I want to play. But I think all of these Forge Worlds are brilliant. But yeah, you've definitely got the ability to create the AdMech army that you want to play, whatever style that is. You know, the Stalwart Wall, the the anti-psyker, the clandestine infiltrators, the siege warfare, the combat punch, the canticle manipulation, and whatever you want to do. It's all brilliant. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up because otherwise I'll be here all evening. But well, there we go. Those are just my first thoughts and impressions on the new Codex Adeptus Mechanicus, and personally, it's very dense and very complex, but I love it. I do like it a lot. It's brilliant. So we're going to wrap this video up from there, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this little first impressions video of the new Codex Adeptus Mechanicus. If you have enjoyed the video, then a like and a comment would be very, very much appreciated. You know, tell me your thoughts, tell me what you think of it. Are you excited about the new book? What Forge World are you going to go for? And of course, if you want to see more of what goes on here inside the Frozen Fortress, then perhaps you'll also consider becoming a subscriber. So that just leaves me to say once again, whoever you are, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I'm Winter Wizard, that's Dimmu, and for now, keep it frosty.